With an incredibly packed December for PSVR2, now, before everything else hits, is the perfect time to talk about 2024 for PSVR2. It feels weird going into a whole new year of content. We got so many games coming out that I'm so excited for. Many that have been announced, and then there'll be so many more that get announced along the way. Hopefully some new AAA VR games from Sony and some third-party games too. Today we're going through 10 of these that I'm incredibly excited for. Some games that you may know about and some games that you may not know about that are coming to PSVR2, hopefully in 2024. So let's get straight into it. First off, we have Aces of Thunder, and if any of you are familiar with Gaijin Entertainment's War Thunder, this is essentially the plain segment of War Thunder translated into VR, into a flight sim for all of us PSVR2 players, I believe with sense controller support, so you'll be able to basically fly like you do in No Man's Sky, in some iconic planes from back in World War II, in some great looking locations, and I'm really hoping this one shapes up to be the Project Wingman that I hoped that game would be. Even when I got Project Wingman working, it really didn't reach my expectations, unfortunately, and I'm really hoping Aces of Thunder, with this massive studio behind it, can pull together some really immersive, good looking, and hopefully good playing VR plane combat. This next game should need no introduction. You know what Among Us is probably, so I don't need to explain it. It's one of the biggest games pretty much ever in terms of the social game genre, and translated into VR, it's absolutely perfect as a game. It's got proximity chat, all the maps you know and love, all the tasks you know and love, its chaotic voting system, and to be honest, for the price this will probably launch at, it will be a must-have PSVR2 game if you have a couple of mates who also play PSVR2. I'm so looking forward to playing this one. If the game looks and plays as well as it does on PC VR, I can personally guarantee this one is amazing if you're a fan of flat screen Among Us. It's basically exactly how you'd expect it to be translated to VR, and I do have a video on it if you want to go and find that on the PC VR version, and of course I will be covering it on the channel when it launches on PSVR2 in 2024. Next up, we have a game that I really didn't know that much about when the trailer dropped a couple of days ago. This is Arken Age, and it seems to be your standard third-person action and adventure RPG, but first person in VR, which is absolutely nuts to me. This is kind of the game that I envisioned somebody making for PSVR2 and VR in general, where you have a massive world to explore with both weapons in melee and ranged combat, so you've got guns and swords, with a load of enemies to fight, some puzzles to do, loads of quests to do, upgrades to make, and bosses to fight. My only worry for this one will be the scope of the game. Games like this are massive, to be honest, in the flat screen, and making one for PSVR2 and VR in general is a huge undertaking. But from what we can see in the trailers, the graphics look good, the combat looks satisfying, the interactions seem pretty solid there, especially with the physical interactions with weapons. And of course, we don't know the story details just yet or how big the open world is, but I'm hoping it's fairly large with a lot of variety to keep the players engaged, so I'm very excited for Arken Age in 2024. And of course, I can't talk about 2024 without including Skydance's brand new game, Behemoth. This one was delayed out of 2023, but given the scale of the game that we've been shown, I'm really not surprised, because Skydance always do things right in terms of their games. Saints and Sinners 1 and 2 were both incredible with their interaction, their immersion, their stories, and their gameplay, so I'm hoping a similar level for Behemoth in 2024. This game looks like a mix between Skyrim, Shadow of the Colossus, and Dark Souls. It has some great looking art direction if this is how the game ends up looking, and as somebody who loves megalophobic stuff, I cannot wait to be facing these huge enemies that are in this game, especially judging by their size in the trailer. If they're anything like that, I genuinely can't wait. Shadow of the Colossus is one of my favourite games ever made, and seeing a VR game that takes some inspiration from that, whether that's intentional or not, is just perfection. I'm hoping they can nail the small scale and big scale combat, and I can't wait to see what Skydance have cooked up for this one. It looks like the roguelike game Compound is also making its way over to PSVR2 next year. I'm incredibly excited for this one too. I've heard nothing but rave reviews. People have said it's one of their favourite VR shooters, and although we get a lot of roguelikes on PSVR2 and in VR in general, I feel like this one's art style, its gunplay, and its overall retro feel will make it stand out from the crowd, and I'm incredibly excited to try it because the amount of high praise that it's got during its run on other platforms. I know roguelikes aren't everybody's cup of tea, but I really hope that this one sells well for the sake of the developer and also looks great and plays great. If this one wasn't on your radar, here you have it, and I haven't seen that many people talk about it, so there's a game I'm quite excited for 2024. Here we have Grimlord, a game that I played in early access many months ago, and I really enjoyed my time with it. It felt like a mix of Blade and Sorcery and Dark Souls. It was quite hard but really rewarding, and I'm sure the game has changed a lot since I last played it, so you can go watch those videos if you want to, but it's not an accurate representation of what the game will be like when it comes out on PSVR 2, which the developer Metalcat has said will happen. Even from when I played it way back in early access, I was blown away by the physical interaction, the combat, the difficulty that felt hard but fair, and the different systems for managing your health and projecting magic onto enemies. If you're a fan of Dark Souls or Souls-like in general, Grimlord will be the game for you. It honestly felt just like playing Dark Souls or Demon Souls, but in VR with some great enemies, some cool boss fights, and from the trailer that's on display right now, I'm hoping you get that same feeling. I can't guarantee what the final product will feel like and play like, but I have played it in early access, and I really enjoyed my time with it, so it is on my radar for PSVR 2 in 2024. Ever since playing Cyberpunk 2077, I've wanted a Cyberpunk VR game, and while you can go out and buy a 4090 and build a PC with that and play Cyberpunk in VR, which is absolutely incredible, if you can't do that and you can't afford that, like me, Lo-Fi is probably the game for you. This is hopefully coming out in 2024, and I have my reservations about it, but from what we've seen, it looks absolutely stunning. It's by a solo developer, and I honestly have no idea how they've done this. I'm just blown away that one person made all this. So if you're a sci-fi fan, keep an eye out for reviews when Lo-Fi drops, and I'm hoping it does drop in 2024 because I'm incredibly excited for it. Next up, we have Ghost of Tabor, a game by Combat Waffle Studios. This is essentially Escape from Tarkov, but in VR, and it's a game that I've played previously on this channel. You head into the zone, you get loot, you get guns, you get out, you can sell stuff for money, and purchase new items from the shop, and battle other players with some great interactive voice chat. Except you don't have to battle other players, you can sort it out with words or even cooperate with them if you want, but it's all to play for when you head into the zone. It's up to you how you play encounters, and it's all up to the online multiplayer element. I absolutely love my time with this one, and trust me, when it comes to PSVR 2, these guys are not going to play around, because the devs are some of the most transparent and open and hardworking devs I've ever seen. Ghost of Tabor has taken the internet by storm this year, and it won VR Game of the Year, and I'm absolutely not surprised. They've thrown their absolute heart and soul into this game, and you can clearly see it. Ghost of Tabor I'm incredibly excited for in 2024, and I hope it makes that date of coming out next year, because it's incredible. Keep your eyes open for this one, it's such a good game. For the next game, I feel like I've spoken about it about 700 times at this point. We need to cover Breaches. It might come out in December, but I feel like it could be pushed back to 2024, so let's throw it on the list. Breaches is the PvP tactical multiplayer game that feels a lot like Rainbow Six with a lot of the similar mechanics that Rainbow Six Siege has, but in VR. I honestly can't wait for this one. I've got a lot of videos talking about it, so if you want to hear more about the game, go take a look at those, but I just want to put it out there that this game could be pushed well into 2024, but keep an eye out for it if it does. It's been touted as one of the best multiplayer shooters for any VR platform, and it's just in the last stages of PlayStation QA right now, so I'm hoping it gets through as soon as possible, but if not, keep an eye out for Breaches in 2024. Penultimately, I've got to talk about Wanderer Fragments of Fate. This is the remaster / remake of Wanderer back for PSVR 1, and I didn't play Wanderer back when it came out. I wasn't a VR YouTuber back then, and I didn't really concern myself with it, even though a lot of the reviews for it were absolutely just astronomically good. That was probably a stupid move on my part. I should have played Wanderer back then, but I'm actually quite glad that I didn't, because Wanderer now is getting a port to PSVR 2 with upgraded visuals across the board, and it looks absolutely stunning. From character models to objects to environments, I literally cannot express to you how good this game looks, and I'm so excited to try it. With some of the amazing environments they built for this game, it's going to blow people away, and it really is going to be a reason to buy a PSVR 2, I think. So look out for Wanderer Fragments of Fate when it launches on PSVR 2 next year. And finally, we have the mystery PSVR 2 game that's shown in this trailer, and I'm going to throw out a random game here that I've also come to the conclusion, with the help of many comments, that this could be Farpoint or Farpoint 2. For those of you who don't know, Farpoint was an FPS that launched back on PSVR. It was one of my favourite PSVR games. It used the aim controller and really felt properly immersive when you played it. And if this is Farpoint 2 that we're being shown in this trailer, which it could be since it has the same HUD elements kind of as Farpoint, then we could be seeing Farpoint 2 come out in 2024 if this does end up being Farpoint 2. The studio for Farpoint, I think, have been radio silent for about a year. They finished their last game and they haven't spoken since then, so I wouldn't be surprised if they're working on a game for PSVR 2. If it's Farpoint 2, I'll be incredibly excited, because a game like that on PSVR 2 would absolutely blow me away. I thought it looked stunning on the PSVR, But my god, with the PSVR2, a game like that, a remaster or a remake or a sequel would just look unreal. But that's just based on the speculation that the other 2 games from the advert that you're seeing right now are real games. This bit is just on a loop of what I think is Farpoint 2, but there are other sections to the ad that show Resident Evil 4 and Horizon Call the Mountain, so it wouldn't make sense for the first game to not be a real game. So if it is a real game, I'm praying that it's Farpoint 2, and if it does end up being that, hopefully we'll see it in 2024. Anyway, there you have it, my top 10 games that I'm anticipating for 2024 on PSVR2. Of course, when January rolls around, we'll talk about the games coming out. Around that time, but for now, those are the games that I'm most excited for in the coming year. There are some really great ones on this list, and I hope to see a lot of you guys online, especially for games like Among Us VR when they do drop. Anyway, thank you all for watching. If you did enjoy, feel free to like, subscribe, and I hope to see you all in the next video.